Welcome back to another episode of Inside Access Control, sponsored by SIA. Very excited today to have Sid Jain with me. He's the CTO and co-founder of Rise Building. Sid, thank you very much for taking the time.
Thanks for having me on the show, Lee.
Oh, of course, absolutely. So you and I, we connected on LinkedIn. I've seen you, I believe it's CEO of the company on a handful of podcasts and webinars. And so you've been very active there and thought it'd be great to have you on. But why don't you kick it off by give a little bit about your background and then talk about the company, and then we'll jump into topics.
Absolutely. So I come from a family of engineers. Was born and brought up in India. And my dad is an engineer. And then what I saw is he approached a complex problem into basically breaking them down into manageable chunks. And that's pretty much how I have approached every problem that I've faced as well. Like if it is a big, ginormous problem, if you break it down into manageable chunks, it's pretty much solvable. My background has pretty much been in designing and implementing highly available and highly scalable systems. And that's the approach I brought to Rise as well when I founded the company about 5 years ago.
Very cool. And so if you give a little bit about what the company does and, where is there a certain market you target and some of the value prop? Because if I'm not mistaken, it was maybe originally focused around the amenities and those types of spaces of an engaged property management type service or that, but you tell me.
Right. So both Prasanna and I, we basically saw a gap in the market where there are a lot of solutions that attack a single vertical. So such as there is a solution for visitor management, there is a solution for reservations or work orders. And we saw that that's not really fair to the end user because instead of having one comprehensive dashboard or a single pane of glass solution, you now have to log into solution after solution, remember the passwords and logins and so on. And it just doesn't give that good feeling to the end user. And that's how we saw like there is a big opportunity where we can have we can create a solution which basically solves most of these problems that a properties normally face. Now, we also saw that each property is different from one another. So our solution had to adapt and change based on those features as well. So you can have a property that just uses visitor management or a property that uses everything, right? So it basically is a very flexible and feature-rich solution that both commercial and residential buildings can use.
Absolutely. And as far as, since you're now bridging really the what I would call more of like a logical software-based program on top of some physical stuff too, are there any particular systems that you work with, or do you work with just about anybody? Help me just understand sort of the fundamental technical side, if you would.
Right. So the way that we approach any problem, as I said before, is we need to look out for the customer. Like what is it in for the customer and what is their problem? And then we create a solution around that. So we have partnered with almost every legacy access control system and even the new age access control systems as well. And that basically brings that experience to the end user. So give you an example, like if you have a key card, in the 2000s, what you would have is if you are moving in as part of your lease, you would have to get a manual key from the leasing agent or whoever. Coming back in around 2010, you have electronic locks, and instead of getting a manual key, you get an electronic key, but somebody still had to go in and add you to the accounting system, add you to the access control system, add you to the work order system, and so on and so on. With Rise, what we have done is by partnering with a lot of smart electronic lock companies such as Assa Abloy and Salto and so on, if a resident moves into the building, property manager, as soon as they hit moved in into an accounting system, we sync that in and then we configure everything for that resident behind the scenes. There is no manual touch involved where the resident's experience is on that one app, on that one platform, and he can either unlock doors or add visitors or pay his rent and so on.
And one of the areas that I recently just wrote about was this idea that I believe that companies like yourself that have rich software interfaces that frankly focus heavily on the user experience is a lot of what you're
Hmm.
talking about, right?
Hmm.
And key differentiators from maybe some of the what we would call like utilities in the building that focused on different stakeholders than the end user. Because really,
Hmm.
like in access control, the experience was a black box with a card, like you said, or even a key and a lock, right? So
Correct.
now you have a much more rich experience. I believe that companies like yourselves are really taking access control, which was an industry focused on safety, and turning it into a feature really of a much larger value proposition to all the different stakeholders, not just the end user, but the property managers and the maintenance, everybody. So, what are your views on how you look at access control as a feature of what is a much larger experience?
Yeah. So great example that I'm going to give you here. So we had a lot of requests from our customers where for this unfortunate situation with COVID, as buildings are starting to open back up, they want to control access to their amenities, right? So let's say if a building has a fitness center, as long as you have a key fob, you can go in, and there is really no control as to how many people can go in into that fitness center at one time. Um, Either you can have a person policing that door, or you can just have like free reign in that fitness center, and that's obviously not what property owners and managers want. So the way we approach this problem is we combined our reservation management system and our door access solution system and added some time box around it. So let's say if you are a resident of the building and you made a reservation for 8 o'clock, only you are allowed to unlock that fitness room door and nobody else. So that controls uh, how many people can go in that fitness center at one time, and at the same time the property managers and owners can enforce those COVID rules, which otherwise would be have a person managing that door and then having that person just sitting there and opening doors, which is not a good use of that person's time.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely some efficiencies that come with it, and then just an
Hmm.
overall just better experience than that end.
Hmm.
So where if you were to look at the current market, and I'm sure that you've seen an uptick in people being interested in what you're doing. Not saying they weren't before, but I'm sure
Right.
there's been a lot more eyeballs on it now with everything going on. And so what if you were to look at the trends, like how do you see this kind of playing out for you all? Is this sort of that moment? That you find a positive thing in a pretty bad situation, if you would. There's a lot of people that are seeing that right now. Or do you think that it'll come back to how it was? Like, how do you view what's going to be next, if you will?
Yeah, so as I said, like since we have a one holistic product, the property managers can typically use the product how they choose to, right? So we have seen immense usage of our platform for communication. Property managers and owners want to keep their residents keep them in check with what's going on in the building and what's actually going on overall with this COVID situation. We have partnered with LifeStart and other fitness providers where property managers can offer virtual classes on our platform. We have seen virtual events being hosted, such as virtual coffee or virtual cocktails. And then also, as I said, like just bringing access control as a feature on our platform, that also is uh, again bringing that one-stop shop experience on that platform where the whole experience of the end user and the staff and the property manager is on that one platform, and they can control access, they can um, uh, service work orders, or they can manage amenities and so on, all on that one platform.
Very nice. Uh, are you all looking for anything? Is there anything you need? Usually like to ask this question as a good opportunity, especially people that are maybe meeting you all for the first time.
Mhm.
Give an idea. Are you looking for dealers? Any anything?
Yeah, so we are actually starting a channel partner program for low voltage providers, where we also have a full suite visitor kiosk system as well, or a video intercom system. And then we have started to market that to the low voltage providers besides the property owners. And we have a great partnership program that the low voltage providers can utilize.
Very nice. And if they want to learn more about what you're doing, where's the best place to go to do that?
You go to our website, risebuildings.com, or send us an email at sales@risebuildings.com.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to give us a little bit of background on what you're doing, your views on the marketplace, and then also let people know that you're looking for dealers. So this is great. So thank you.
Thank you for having me, Lee.
No problem.